Good morning. Denise Dryden out here on Bainbridge Island. And it's Mother's Day. And today I want to talk about the challenges of mothering, right? And the challenges of getting your video out on time, right? So over the last few days, I've been up on a lift painting a new place for a tea and apothecary, and I'm a little tired this morning. So, you know, those challenges keep continuing even after we're done raising our children, right? So today I want to talk about the fact that mothering. This is Mother's Day, and I'm a mother. I have 3 grown children who have really taught me well. I've got 2 daughters and a son. And I wanted to also put in there that my mother passed about 2.5 years ago. So that lineage of the mother up, the mothering down was ended, and it's still, you know, it's still there. My relationship with her was challenging. It was one of the most challenging relationships I've ever had in my lifetime, of this lifetime, right? And so I want to talk about this mothering concept today. Because in seeking ways to connect and heal with my mother, trying to find ways to make it work, to make us better, I paid a lot of attention to the parenting process. And I ended up, you know, having this really good skill set of being able to say, what does love look like? What does it feel like? Where did we connect? Where do we disconnect? And then being able to apply that to other people, other family systems when they came and asked. So in so many ways, my mother was my greatest teacher, because she trained me in some of these skill sets that, you know, like I am a keen observer. I don't miss anything. I can just sort of pay attention to energy shifts, the subtleties in the room, to everything. Problem solving, course, you know, sort of cause and effect, course correction. It's going this way, change, go that way, change, go that way. So there's a lot of flexibility and adaptability, right? Communication, emotional regulation, and compassion. These are the things that I learned directly from my mother. So I'm a coach, and I've been coaching now for 25 years in this family dynamic. And it really isn't the family system, it's the parent-child relationship. So my niche is that quirky, creative kid who is identifying, you know, what ways to be in the world, right? That's different. They don't learn the same way. They don't, you know, they may not be part of the traditional family outlook. But what I want to do is I want to look at ways to empower this child, this teen, this young adult, to provide freedom, support, and to see who this kid's going to be when he grows up or she grows up, so that they have this freedom to grow, right? And I picked this up when I started working with teens in the 1990s, you know, 17, 18, 19-year-old or 20-year-olds. So what I want to do is I want to lay out that the world really changed at the end of 1989 with the arrival of two major energies that were combining at the same time, okay? So the first one was the crystalline energy. And the crystalline energy is vibrational. It's feelings. It's how we resonate. And so when we talk about crystalline children or crystal kids, that's what we're talking about. And they arrived within the same constructs of the first 10 years of the millennials. So the millennials are often sort of blended with the crystalline energy. And I have lots of presentations and talks about that. So if you're curious about that, let me know, right? So as vibrational children, they're intelligent, curious, they're focused, and then they're scattered. They're present and perceptive, and they're artistic, and they're creative, and they're kind, and they're loving, and they're thoughtful, because they feel. They feel through their bodies, and so they have this limbic intelligence, right? This limbic intelligence. So they were born into a culture that was either 1 or 2 years post-World War II, Korea, Vietnam, total chaos. They were born into the 1950s to the 2000 years, to the turn of the millennial at 2000, which is 50 years of post-war materialism and corporate growth. And so they were born into these, you know, gotta get ahead, profit's the most important thing. And that's really not in alignment with what their energy system is, right? So Bethany Webster, and I love her work. She does a lot of work on the mother wound, okay? And she said that pain rooted in our relationship with our mothers is passed down from generation to generation. It's rooted in our mothers. Okay, it's toxic and oppressive beliefs, ideals, and perceptions of roles and of choices, and it's based on the patriarchy, the patriarchal culture. You can tell I'm having a hard time talking today. I'm tired. So these beautiful vibrational children were born into this really, really self-directed, linear approach to corporate growth. And so there's some disalignment, and that makes sense, right? So these paths, they're not linear kids. They're vibrational kids, and they don't do well with control or expectations. So now I'm going to jump over from Bethany Webster to Elena Brower, who is fabulous. She did this, and I'll put this stuff on the bottom of my Facebook page so that you can see it. Elena Brower did a presentation on spiritual parenting. And she said, what we learn from our parents. What we learn is exactly what we learned from our parents, what we saw and what we felt. So it's how we saw our parents acting, and it's how we felt when we were in their house, around them, and in through all of our experiences. So it's based on also what our parents saw and felt when they were growing up, because it's generational. It's like our parents pattern from their parents, and then we pattern from our parents, and then we pass our patterning down. Okay, so this generational vibrational patterning is part of the limbic resonance, which means that our limbic systems are duplicating. We pattern and absorb what is around us, and we pattern and absorb what impacts us. Is this starting to make sense to you? This is fascinating stuff. So I looked up limbic resonance, and the definition is that it's a process of sharing a deep emotional state when it arises. Now, if it's dopamine based, it's empathic harmony. It's like chill, right? And if it's norepinephrine, which is based on adrenal, then it is fear, and it is anxiety, and it is anger. And so this is how our blood circulates, is based on this one energetic norepinephrine. So how we sustain ourselves, how we move through life, is shared energetically, right? So here's the challenge. There's a few, but here's the first challenge of mothering. That we live in changing times, that we're removing old roles, old expectations, old belief systems that used to work for decades. For our parents, maybe our grandparents, maybe our great-grandparents, right? These generations have been duplicating themselves, and it doesn't work. We're living in a changing times where it doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. Number 2 is that we're teaching and patterning and imprinting on our children at all times, whether it starts in vitro when they're first born, all the way through till they leave to go away from home, and even when they come back, we are still patterning this limbic resonance with them constantly. And it means that vibrationally, every moment they're with us, they're duplicating us. That's a huge challenge. Challenge number 3. When we really get this, our role as a mother is to know ourselves well enough so that we know that we're being constantly scanned, recorded, and played back. Scanned, recorded, and played back. So that what we are embedding in our children is what we believe. So that's huge. These pieces, we're living changing times, that our children are going to duplicate whatever we do, right? Crap, this is huge. So here's the second part of the challenges, right? So we have these 3 things, is that the real challenge of parenting is that what we feel about our mother is what we pass on to our children. Let that sink in. What we feel about our mother is what we pass on to our children. And so it's how our children will feel about us. So how we view our mother is how our children feel about us. It's energetic patterning. It's generational. This is a huge belief system that we have to really go after, is that if we have an antagonistic or a not so great relationship, or we feel hurt and judgment from our mother, or that we actually hold that in our body and we teach it to our children. Okay? Yet another challenge to parenting is at the same time as we explore and reveal and get real about what we are learning about ourselves, the most beautiful part is that when we change us, we change the generations up and we change the generations down. It's the 7-generation lineal pain cycle is broken. It's almost like you come in with a stake and you drive a stake in there and you go, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not carrying on this pain. I'm not passing it on to my children. And I'm going to heal it so that it heals my mother and her mother's mother. And it heals my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. That's just how wonderful this whole challenge is. So, going back to Elena Brower, how we love our parents is how we love ourselves. How we love our parents is how we love God, Spirit, Source, Energy. How we love ourselves, how we love others, how we love all. So these are all interconnected, that there's this piece where how we pattern off of our mothers, how we take it on, and how we pass it on is the work that we get to do in this lifetime, okay? So because this is what I talk about all the time, this is my favorite part, is that it's really, really very workable once we sort of take it and we lay it all out and we start to pick it up and look at it. So it's easier to address about how it sounds and how it feels and what this big job is when we can do an honest assessment with some full awareness so we can make a plan. So in this coaching, what I do is we just make neutral plans. It's kind of like, okay, so you and your child are not getting along, so you and your son aren't speaking to each other, or you and your daughter haven't spoken in 7 months. So you've got this issue, right? And so, or your child's in therapeutic program because school failure, drug, substance use, over anxiety. There's so many reasons why a kid has to be removed from the home in a kind and loving therapeutic environment so that everybody can regroup and come back in, right? So when we as parents get that we need a plan for what we do when that happens, that's the kind of stuff that I've been playing with for years, okay? So things that we do when we take all these pieces and we spread them out, we get really honest, like, okay, what are the sensitive and empathic traits that exist in this family? Where do they come from? Who's got them, right? And then we do the hereditary tracking. And so we have this wisdom pieces and they go up and down and we go, okay, now we know that I feel tremendously, that I have these issues around feeling these hurts and that I see them in my child. And then we normalize them and we start to just put them down like facts. Okay, so there's been secrets in the family. So there's been pains that the parents have endured together, or the parent has endured from her parents ahead of time, or his parents ahead of time. So we have these pieces that we start to put together, right? So whether it's hidden truths, secrets, conflicts, this is all felt within the family system. And then we look at the patterns and we go, yeah, so okay, so that's there. What are we going to do about it now that it's there? And then we create new pathways that open and help things flow easier, which is, oh, if I'm angry, I pass my anger down to my kid and I'm angry because of this. And then we just start to look at the anger pattern and we go, what are we going to do with this one? This one isn't working very well. So we create space for breathing, for peace, for love, and we transform mothering. We transform parenting because we take ownership of what's going on. We roll our sleeves up and we work on this plan. We make a plan and we work on it, and we shift out of these old patterns and beliefs that have been holding us hostage in generation after generation after generation after generation of familial work. So also, when you do this, we change the generational burden. We free up. When we look at the plan and we start to tweak it and we start to work with it and we start to make it different, we free up our children to have the kind of lives that they want as well. This is just like absolute magic. So what I want to do when I close here is say that motherhood is sacred. It's the most sacred role that there is, because we're capable of creating the greatest change on this planet. Just simply by looking at ourselves and saying, what am I doing that's working? What am I doing that's not working? How do I get really honest about this? And then how do I share and pass on this release so that it isn't continued through our children, right? So we are, as mothers, are here to do this. This is our superpower. And right before I got on, I was reading Irma K. Sawyer, and she said, she said the one thing that I thought was the most beautiful. She said, we are the prodigal daughters. We are here to change, and the change starts with us. And once we understand the vibrational limbic system and these crystals and millennials and how everything is intertwined, we have all the power to change this. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope it helps on Mother's Day. Enjoy the day. Enjoy celebrating who you are and what you've been able to support and birth into this world. And you can find more videos on this. You can find topics on each of these on my website at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.